Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, September 24th, 2020. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. As the country continues to battle a dengue outbreak, some schools have already given notice that students may wear long-sleeve shirts and long jeans pants at school, aimed at helping to protect them against mosquito bites, which may lead to dengue. The C.W. Prescott Primary, the St. Vincent Grammar School, and the Thomas Saunders Secondary are some of the schools which have posted notices on their Facebook pages informing of the temporary adjustments to uniforms. Parents and guardians attending the C.W. Prescott Primary have been advised that boys will wear their school shirts with the school's logo, black or blue long denim jeans pants or long khaki pants, navy blue socks and black shoes, while the girls will wear their school shirts, black or blue long denim jeans or long khaki pants, navy blue socks and black shoes. The St. Vincent Grammar School has made clothing adjustments for students in Forms 1 and 2, while those in Forms 3 and 4 and 5 will continue to wear their school pants but may wear a long-sleeve shirt. And students at the Thomas Saunders Secondary will be allowed to wear long-sleeve shirts with long pants, both males and females. The adjustment dress code will come into effect at the Thomas Saunders Secondary School tomorrow, while at the C.W. Prescott Primary and Grammar School it goes into effect from Monday. At a news conference on Tuesday to deal with the dengue situation, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Kaiser Beach recommended that students be allowed to wear long-sleeve shirts and pants to protect against bites by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which carries dengue. The Ministry of Education says it has informed all schools of the recommendation made by the Ministry of Health to allow students to wear long pants in an effort to combat dengue fever. And some pharmacies here are reporting a low stock of medications and items to fight off dengue. Larissa Pugsley-Kidd tells us more in this report.
Several months ago, there was the rush by Vincentians to stock up on their vitamins, sanitizers, masks and other products because of the COVID-19 virus. Now, pharmacies are reporting that they are fully stocked with these items, but with the dengue fever outbreak in SVG, pharmacy shelves are empty with mosquito repellents and running low on paracetamol, the medication recommended as a pain reliever for the aches and pains that are associated with dengue fever.
Right now we are out of boxes of paracetamol. We have it by the card. We are out of repellent and so on.
Well, Bowman's Pharmacy has been responding very good up until today, because we had most of the stocks that we needed for the dengue, but now we are completely out of almost everything. We are out of, for example, thermometers that sells like hot bread. We are out of paracetamol. We under normal conditions, we had paracetamol to last us maybe the next 6 months, but all sold out within maybe a week or 2 weeks or so. We sold mosquito repellent, about 45 cases this week only, and now we are completely out.
Granville Francis at Corey's Pharmacy says they will be sourcing their paracetamol locally, while Curtis Bowman of Bowman's Pharmacy said that he orders from overseas and has a delay due to the COVID-19 pandemic and is not sure how early he will be able to restock.
As a matter of fact, I still have a shipment of paracetamol that was supposed to come out of Pakistan since the COVID-19, and it's still somewhere in the sea coming because the air freight is almost null and void, but if it is there, it's very, very expensive.
The pharmacist said that persons are rigidly sticking to paracetamol, but explained that there are other medications that contain paracetamol.
There's no specific medication for dengue, but if you have dengue, you can take anything containing acetaminophen, otherwise known as Tylenol, or paracetamol. Also, there's another brand called Cetamol you can also take, because most people know the liquid Paramol, but Paramol and Cetamol is the same thing, same as also Tylenol and Panadol liquid, which all contain paracetamol, because paracetamol and acetaminophen is the same thing, but the Americans tend to be different and call it acetaminophen or Tylenol.
Yesterday, a patient also brought back some cetamol, 500 milligram containing 500 milligram of paracetamol, but she said she went and the nurse told her, no, you can't use cetamol, you have to get paracetamol. And I guess it's all back of education, even us health professionals. And again, it comes down back to continuing education. And I mean, the doctors, the nurses, I mean, we need to keep up to date with the latest development in new drugs.
Bowman said that persons need to be properly informed when taking medications, stating that too much of paracetamol could lead to liver damage. As regards to mosquito repellents, he said that a mixture of citronella oil and Vaseline could work as a substitute.
And the citronella grease, I mean, we advise you to buy the citronella oil, which is also a mosquito repellent, and mix it with the normal petroleum jelly. And they can apply it to the skin. And right there you have a natural home remedies that we can use. For example, the neem tree. The neem bush is a very good mosquito repellent. You put it in your house or do something like that. We have what we call, well, we in Richland Park call it shade tree. I know it is called rain bush. I know all these are natural plants that will run the mosquito, maybe not kill them, but will deter them from coming around.
The Ministry of Health said that as of Tuesday, 22nd September, there were 375 cases of dengue fever in SVG and 2 confirmed deaths. For SVGTV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
The changes of the 21st century demand a firm recommitment to the values of unity and solidarity envisioned by the forebearers who created the United Nations. So says Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves during his brief virtual presentation at a high-level meeting to commemorate the United Nations General Assembly's 75th anniversary. PM Gonsalves said for the past 75 years, member states have navigated rising tides, weathered many storms, and extinguished countless fires, and as they seek to confront the headwinds of climate change and address meaningfully the health, socio-economic, political, and humanitarian aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic, they must pursue a renewed and effective multilateralism steeped in the virtues of equality and justice for all.
Against the backdrop of a markedly unequal global political economy, the moment is ripe for us to refashion our multilateral system by, among other things, addressing the crucial issue of Security Council reform and updating the protocols that govern international trade and finance to promote a resilient and climate-friendly post-pandemic global economy. Given the disproportionate and disastrous health, economic, social and security implications of COVID-19 in the developing world, as a result of supply chain disruptions, sharp declines in remittances, significant decreases of travel and trade, and the consequent accumulation of debt. Urgent and ambitious action is required to avert a grim post-COVID reality where heightened inequalities and deepened political divides create ruptures in our social fabrics.
Dr. Gonsalves further noted that for a small island developing state with its exceptional both historical and contemporary challenges, there is an urgent need for SVG's development partners, including international financial institutions, to apply vulnerability indices and update financial criteria to address debt distress.
Without greater debt relief, concessional financing, and scaled-up development assistance, our countries will fall further behind, unable to provide social protections, attain sustainable development goals, or safeguard the social contracts on which peace and prosperity are built. COVID-19 has exposed the fragilities of a lopsided multilateral system, while the long arm of modern-day imperialism, with its hegemonic, unilateral and interventionist modus operandi, disembowels the bedrock principles of international law and threatens further turmoil and fragmentation. We cannot continue on this perilous path. As we commemorate the 75th anniversary of this global institution, let us dare to imagine a new dawn for human civilization, where the rights and freedoms of all nations and peoples are equally protected.
The Prime Minister said it is time to craft a United Nations that ensures peace, security and prosperity for all humanity in all parts of the world.
And let no state uses its military, economic or political power to deny any other its rightful place at the table at the United Nations in equality and dignity. Thank you.
Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez has urged the OECS member states, which is categorized as small developing states, to make a paradigm shift to large ocean states. The Minister of Finance, Economic Planning, Sustainable Development and Information Technology was delivering the keynote address to the Blue Economy Investors Roundtable on the opening day of the OECS Sustainable Development Movement, the SDM 2020, on Tuesday. Noting that the OECS stands at a developmental crossroad, Minister Gonzalez stressed that embracing the potential of the blue economy in the OECS requires the realignment of governance structures and reallocation of scarce resources. He acknowledged that as such realignments are challenging in the best of times and doubly difficult against the backdrop of the devastating economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG 2030, Gonzalez said with a 10-year window of opportunity remaining to capitalize on the international focus and support endangered by the SDGs, the OECS must define and prioritize a common vision of how the blue economy can drive regional development. He added that within the context of the global pursuit of the Sustainable Development Goals, a clear declaration of intent and a coherent plan of action by the OECS would likely garner targeted cooperation, knowledge transfer and support, stigmatize, caution against the proliferation of foreign entities in blue economy investments in the region. He emphasized that island states must retain a great degree of control of their marine resources and ocean space, even when partnering with responsible private enterprise. In his words, the global tale of blue economy investment in small islands has been one of unequal bargaining positions and glossy, inequitable distribution of returns from the use of the island's seascape. He says while no one expects private sector investments to be altruistic, their advantages of capital equipment and specialized expertise give them a negotiating advantage that all but guarantees an explosive relationship with the marine environment of small states. The first batch of fertilizers for distribution should be in the state already, and according to Minister of Agriculture Subota Caesar, all has been pre-sold to farmers. Speaking on radio yesterday, the Agriculture Minister said that the fertilizers were sold at half price and is part of the government's relief package to farmers.
We are currently offloading at the input warehouse 2,700 sacks of fertilizer, which will be sold at half price. And this fertilizer, which was being offloaded, 100% of it, all of it, was sold prior to arrival. So for persons, and I went to a meeting in North Leeward with over 150 farmers, and there were several persons who came there with their receipts that I bought my fertilizer. And when is the next shipment coming? Well, I want persons who are listening, farmers who are listening, that between tomorrow, Friday, early next week, the input warehouse will be calling you. That's why they took your number. They'll be calling you so that you can come in to collect the fertilizer. And they will be doing so in such a way that they will manage the number of persons who will come in at one point in time.
Minister Caesar noted that another shipment of more than 4,000 sacks has been ordered. He said that those who need to purchase would obtain the supply once there was a smooth distribution of the first batch.
A further purchase will be made for another shipment of fertilizer, and that most likely will be here within 14 to 21 days. But the input warehouse will not be processing new purchases until they would have satisfied the distribution process for persons who had paid for their fertilizer. So I am thinking about Wednesday of next week. If you want to purchase fertilizer, then you can go and make your payment at the input warehouse. And of course, I am going to be advised by the input warehouse. But it's going to be very important for the input warehouse also to put out a public service announcement.
Meanwhile, the Agriculture Minister announced that they have initiated a fertilizers project with the government of Taiwan. He said this is in the early stages with testing being done.
We are in the process of experimenting with approximately 1,000 sacks of fertilizer donated by the government and people of Taiwan. And a lot of farmers have reported that the results in terms of production and productivity excellent. And I know that there are several entities in the private sector who are exploring the possibility of connecting with the private sector in Taiwan to bring fertilizer out of Taiwan to be sold to the farmers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I want to wish that project all the very best.
The COVID-19 pandemic has made a lot more stakeholders and hotels sign agreements with the Ministry of Tourism in ensuring that their hotels are up to standard to be used as quarantine properties and be more safe and sanitary. This from CEO of the SVG Tourism Authority, Glenn Beach, during a recent interview on Star Radio. Beach noted that the Ministry of Health, the Bureau of Standards and Fire Department are working along with the Ministry of Tourism in inspecting properties.
Minimum standards. We're not here to shut down anybody. We've worked with properties to bring them up to scratch.
Right.
There are one or two properties that we put on the quarantine approved properties, had to take them off, worked with them, now they're back on.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it's to make sure, and it's simple things, running hot water in the kitchen, you know? Simple things like that, making sure your towels don't have any holes. You know, it's not anything, if you have a pool, that you have the handles to go walk inside the pool so that you don't fall down or anything. Simple minimum standards. And a lot of the tour operators out of the United Kingdom and United States are now asking the properties for these things.
He said that hotels and other operators who try to unregister their businesses after the pandemic will be charged.
Now, I should also state that you will, if you look after the pandemic finishes to not be registered, we will charge you. The law is there for us to charge you. And so we've been doing this, I think, for 7 years now. We've been giving people, the stakeholders, the chance to get on board. The pandemic has made sure some people come on board, so to speak. But it has helped, because if these standards weren't in place before, then a lot of the hotels, some of the hotels would not have been ready to be quarantine properties. So there's some properties we've moved, and Ministry of Health is part of our inspection team, Standards Bureau, Fire Department, and so all of that has come into helping us do our job. Our inspection team, as a matter of fact, right now is in Bequia.
Beach said without the license from the Ministry of Tourism, which declares that the hotels or apartments are up to standard and a quarantine-approved property, the facility will not be booked.
As I said, if you're not registered with us, if you're not licensed by us, you can't be a quarantine-approved property. So now you find people, now all of a sudden we got something like 30-something new requests to become licensed, because obviously the tour operators, Virgin Holidays, British Airways, the tour operating side of those airline companies, if they don't see your property on our quarantine approved list, then they're not booking.
Okay.
Right? And then not only that, not only are they not booking you, Don't forget, you have to show, take for example American Airlines, you have to show your booking at that property before they allow you on the flight.